How did you study for modern history?
How did I study for modern history? For modern history, our teacher was really big on understanding the key themes of the course. And that was quite hard to nail out and to nut out what the key themes of the course were. So basically, I think I can explain this by giving you an example. We studied America between 1919 and 1941. That was our national study. And so our teacher was very much of the view that you should approach your notes, you should approach this course by trying to figure out what the big ideas are, because at the end of the day, that's what they'll be examining you on. So one of the big ideas in that period, for example, was the role of big business in creating prosperity within America. So we would have that as, I guess, one of our key headings, and then we would make notes corresponding to that, really having a strong, fundamental, grassroots understanding of what those key themes entail. Another one would be, in that period, conservatism, or isolationism, or deregulation, key aspects like that. Big ideas, but they all sort of link in together, and when an essay question did come up, you could effectively write in your margin, as you were to begin writing essays, 1 to 5, okay, I'm going to talk about this theme, this theme, this theme, this theme, and this theme, and you've known so much about each one of them that you can effectively adapt them to any question. So my notes for modern history, interestingly enough, were much shorter than the other subjects. They were really focusing on these key themes, and I found that in focusing on these key themes, I addressed all the points in the syllabus.
So instead of structuring by the syllabus for modern history, it was by themes for each of the sort of
big
topics.
ideas, the most important ideas, the most relevant points. Effectively, if they're going to ask me a question on America in this period, what are they going to ask me a question on? And that's where I would try and match up with these key themes. Not so much question guessing, but really the focus of what they would want you to talk about in the paper. And admittedly, we did get a lot of help from our teachers. Said, okay, this is what we're focusing on this week. Use this as your heading when you're doing your notes.
Yeah, okay, excellent. So it was really, I guess, a matter of making your notes very specific and focused to what you would need for an exam, essentially.
Yeah.
Because I know in history, there's a lot of content and there's a lot of extraneous material that you're never going to need to use. So we're just cutting that.
Absolutely.
And focusing on the themes. Mm-hmm. All right, excellent. And so then, similar way, you'd read it out loud, teach it to sort of to learn the content.
So when you come back to all the content, it's actually the way you can. It's almost like tricking the marker into thinking you know more than you actually do, is by including a really specific example. And one of those things where if you include that fact, the marker will read it and then turn around to the person next to them and say, hey, listen to this one. So we were looking for quite, we was always looking to give us, our teacher, quite original facts, if that makes sense. Facts that would really, like obviously you need to know, Pearl Harbor happened on the 7th of December 1941. That stuff, but also if you wanted to add that additional layer of persuasiveness and depth to your essay, including, that on fact. And just to pull an example off the top of my head, we were studying about economic growth in America as part of our national study. And one of the facts we had was, the growth in production of chicken eggs or something like that. I mean, ridiculous. But it was just it was something that really...
gave the mark of the impression.
That you knew, and that you had actually thought about it. And the other thing was, if you're talking about urbanization, talking about something as simple as the growth of skyscrapers, the importance of the elevator. I mean, people don't really consider that, but in hindsight, reading that, it actually does make a lot of sense in the context of what we were studying. Little things like that. It is a fairly pedantic process, going through readings, looking for that niche fact, if you like. But it
was the way
you effectively have to memorise less, and the stuff you do memorise is super quality.
Yeah, okay, excellent. And so, as part of that, was it also looking at historians' perspectives and including that in your notes as well, or less so?
Yeah, I think there's two schools of that thought. Definitely do it. Historiography is good. Taylor says such and such about the origins of the Second World War. Having said that, I don't think it's enough to just name drop and throw them into your essay. I know there are some teachers that absolutely hate it with a passion. I think it's good actually at the end of your essay, perhaps before a conclusion, to say, Taylor argues such and such, and even maybe disagree with them or pose potential issues with what his views are, agree with him, and then state your own reasons for agreeing. So I think you need to bounce off historians' ideas rather than just include them for the sake of including them. And there are people who make names up as well. That's probably not a good idea either. They just do it. And markers don't buy into that. They want to see you're actually using it rather than just including it for the sake of including it.
So in other words, it sounds like it's almost better to disagree with the historian. if you're going to reference it.
Yeah, don't be crazy and disagree with what is a
For the
fairly
sake of it,
orthodox viewpoint. But I think if you're going to do that, it's good to agree with the historian and then back it up with some of these facts that you've sifted through. And then if you can put your personal input in there, it's even better.
It's even better.
Yeah.